Welcome to the You Were Designed for Greatness podcast. Each week we will bring you inspiring tips, stories, and ideas to help you be all that you can be, discovering your greatness. Featuring Donna Special. Donna is a transformational life and health coach, a highly sought-after public speaker, and the founder of Vibrant Living. She has helped hundreds find a better life, free of stress and living the greatness they were truly designed for. And now, your host, Donna Special.
Hello. I'd like to welcome you to podcast number 4. Today, I am really excited. I have a guest with me, Debra Anderson, who is a vocal coach. Debra, could you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Donna. I have been a vocal coach for a number of years, but I actually have well over 30 years of experience teaching singing. I started out at Cornerstone University, and I was the head of voice at what used to be Grand Rapids School of Bible and Music, but then they merged with Grand Rapids Baptist and became Cornerstone. So I have a lot of years of teaching singing, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. But what I have found is a niche in an area of proper presentation skills. And so what I do now is I teach people how to present themselves professionally and in the best way that they can vocally. And so I do private lessons as well as speech preparation courses as well. So that's what I'm up to these days.
Great. For those of you who don't know, I also had lessons with Debra about a year ago or so.
Oh, yes.
And I love the fact that you call yourself a confidence coach, even more than you would say a vocal coach.
Yes.
Because gaining in confidence when we are speaking and being able to clearly communicate what we are trying to say brings great confidence. And not sure what kind of student I was, but what would you say?
I would say you were a wonderful student in that you took your lessons very seriously and you worked very hard. And I am going to tell you, Donna, that is what I expect from my students. Most people that are in a position where they need to represent themselves as an entrepreneur or a company that they work for, you know, our social media today prevents a lot of people from great communication practices, but yet the companies are still sending people out there to present. Whether it be a networking situation, whether it be an actual presentation, a PowerPoint, for example, or whether they're a manager and they need to speak with a staff on a regular basis. All of these areas are areas that require some great technique and communication skills. And you did a wonderful job, and you've come a long way in that you now are an example to so many others, and you coach others, and you do it in a wonderfully confident and articulate way. And so I'm very proud.
Thank you. And in coaching with you is fun, even though it makes you feel vulnerable. You have fun and learning how to be more confident. Have you noticed in coaching with women that they have problems with being visible and standing out?
This is a huge problem, Donna, with women more than men, I would say. Even in the situation where you're in a boardroom, women are afraid to speak up, speak out, for they are perceived then as brash. And we don't necessarily want to come across that way, but we feel that's the only way that our voices can be heard. And in fact, it's really not. Being vulnerable is not always a bad thing. Being confident in how you present is what's going to come across. So what we try to do is teach women how to have a voice that carries a wonderful tone, that carries a command in the room that they're in.
Yes.
But without being brash or whiny sounding.
Right.
Men just tend to have, for the most part, not always, but men tend to have a lower tone and a little bit more command to their voice, so they're listened to better.
Right.
Women's voices can be often higher pitched, and they tend to feel like they're just not, either they're not going to speak up enough to be heard, or they're going to be heard in a way that is perceived as, nobody wants to listen to her.
Yes.
Shut her up.
Yes. I totally relate to that whole concept of being afraid to be visible. We were talking earlier, and I coach people through what it means to be visible to them. And as I went through that coaching program, to me, visibility was whenever I was called attention to when I was young, it was always I was in trouble. There was always something that I wasn't doing right. It wasn't, and I think maybe in our society, we're much more apt to notice people's faults instead of doing the encouragement that they did a great job. And so that was my story. And so anytime I needed to be visible, I figured people were going to be critical. And what I found is the total opposite. The more vulnerable and true and confident I was to my story, the more that women relate and the more that I'm understood. And we all seek to be understood. But there was this feeling of not being safe. Have you ever experienced that in your career?
Oh, certainly. And if I can just interject something here, because Donna, you worked with me a little bit too on some of my choices for lifestyle, and I was afraid and a little bit of a naughty student in that I didn't want to do what you were telling me to do. And yet, it didn't take too long for me to figure out that a few minor diet changes and lifestyle changes made me into a healthier, happier individual, simply because I felt better.
Right.
Okay? So what I notice about you, even though you may have felt vulnerable and maybe felt criticized, is that you have great insight. And that is an important quality for a life coach, because we have to be able to perceive more than just what's on the surface.
Correct.
And as a vocal confidence coach, people will open up, because half of the reason they won't speak up or speak well is because they are afraid. We're always afraid when we get in front of people,
yes,
that they're going to think we don't look good, or we don't sound good, or what we have to say is not important. And I teach that the delivery of what you have to say is the key. And we all have to equip ourselves with the tools that create the confidence that allow the message to be clear and connect with other people.
One of the things that I appreciated so much about coaching with you was helping you. You helped me to be able to articulate the passion that was in my heart that I had trouble getting out. And being able, it was more than enunciating correctly or breathing correctly. It was being able to get to the passion and to be able to present it in a way that you were understanding what I was trying to communicate. And to me, that's one of the biggest things I got out of it. All the other techniques were great, but getting to be able to, because we get so passionate about what we're doing that we don't always know. I talk really fast and I don't even communicate because I'm trying to get across and I'm nervous and or I'm shy and I'm mumbling and I'm not talking, and learning how to get that balance where I can communicate what's on my passion, especially entrepreneur women, even women in the workplace, being able to have their voice be heard. All of those things is what I found is such a benefit from what you do, and watching you over the last year grow your business.
Yes.
And feel better, healthy. We've become good friends.
Yes.
And I just think it's wonderful that's why this podcast is called You Were Designed for Greatness, is because there is a greatness in all of us women and men as well, but you know why I'm here.
Yes.
And helping that to come out is what you do and I do, and we from different perspectives.
Exactly.
But we're still having the same thing as helping women find their voice. And we were talking earlier about helping people say what they want.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
You know, and helping them to be able to articulate, this is what I want, this is my idea, and being able to say that with confidence in whatever setting I may be in.
I think we discussed briefly about how women tend to feel like they're being selfish if they don't articulate what they want. They're too worried about what, we put other people's needs ahead of our own.
Yes.
That's a nurturing quality that many of us women have. And I'm not saying that's a bad quality, but there is a point in life, and I almost think, Donna, that as we age, we start to learn this. There's taking care of ourselves,
yes,
and there's being selfish.
Yes.
I think that to take care of ourselves and to articulate our needs so that we do take care of ourselves better is what is a benefit then as we relate to other people. Because now we have insights and abilities to take care of others more effectively because we're not worn out.
Right.
And we're not allowing ourselves to get so worn down that we have nothing left to give. Now we learn how to balance it out.
Yes.
And to realize that it's okay to be vulnerable because I can take some of these experiences that when I was younger I might have perceived to be the end of the world. And now I can look at them and say, now wait a minute, what can I learn from this?
Yes.
And how can I apply this and turn it around and balance it out so that now I can see, okay, I see where I could have done this differently, and I will from now on. And I've learned something new.
Yes.
And now I have the ability to pass that information along and impart it to someone else.
Yes.
So being vulnerable and thinking about ourselves a little bit more, those are not bad things.
No, not at all. Learning that self-care is not selfish.
That's
and that
correct.
I become a better mother, a better wife, a better business person by taking care of myself. And that is different for all of us. Mm-hmm. Whatever makes you recharge, whatever you need. We were talking about if we have a late night, we like to have a late morning.
That's true.
Because it helps us to be better throughout the day.
That's
and
right.
Work optimally. And we now know that about ourselves, where before when we were younger, we would push through and probably ignore that our needs, and by the end of the day we're snapping. At least that was my story.
No, and that's a very good point because, again, remember how you relate to others is you're being affected by all of these activities. I have a daughter that is constantly doing things. She's in her 30s. And I think the 30s are a time where we just feel like we just are go, 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 go for our children, for our activities, all of these things. And I've learned that to have some quiet time is a wonderful thing.
It's wonderful.
Because then I'm not going to snap at my husband at the end of the day because maybe I've taken a few more minutes to realize that I needed a little nap. I needed a little rest time. I just needed to not talk to anybody for about a half hour.
Yeah.
And then I am more willing to get up and perceive maybe what's bothering my husband that day, or maybe our children, we can be there for them a little more effectively. Maybe our friends,
yes,
we can take a few more minutes.
Intuitive.
And exactly, we're more intuitive and we're more sympathetic because we're not worn out ourselves.
Right. And in your 30s, it's really super hard to do that.
It is.
But helping teach and impart that to women in that age group to find that moment, whether it's the bubble bath or whatever it may be, that they can have that moment and help them do that, and that it's not selfish.
Exactly.
Is something that is really in part. So could you give somebody a tip about being confident in their voice?
I can, and it has to do more with the mental aspect of vocal training.
Okay.
Many people think that they can just get up and speak or read something and that's it. You're done. I did my job. But we need to mentally prepare before we get up in front of any situation, even a networking situation. Think before you enter and think about what it is you want to talk about. Are you going to talk about your business? Are you going to introduce yourself in a way that's effective? Or are you going to just barge in there and your ums and your hubs and 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 like and all of these words step in there because we haven't prepared what we want to say. So a mental preparation is the very first step in helping yourself to become more confident because you're prepared. Preparedness is not given the priority that it needs to be given.
Yeah, I agree. And it also helps me to think about whatever audience I am doing that speaking to that they're looking for.
Absolutely.
Then I'm speaking to their need, not my need as a business owner in a networking situation or whatever it may be, whatever the audience is that preparedness to take my message to fit their needs in a way that I'm helping them. And
that's, nervousness is not us worrying about what everybody else is doing. Nervousness is we're worried about what everybody's thinking about us.
Yes.
So the attention now is not where it needs to
Correct.
be. The attention has become focused on ourselves when it should be on your audience.
Yes.
And once you really care about that audience and getting that message across, nervousness will abate because we're not thinking about
us
me.
Anymore. Yes. Well, this has been great. I'm so happy you joined me here today. So if people want to get more information about your services, how do they reach you?
I'm going to give you a few ways, okay? First of all, my phone number, and I'm very happy to share it with you, is 616-915-1231. That is my phone number. You're welcome to call me. I like to speak to people on the phone. Secondly, my email is mozzarellaMama@gmail.com. That's spelled MOZZARELLAMAMA@gmail.com. And then I do have a Facebook page called Debra L. Anderson, Vocal Coach. So you can reach me on Facebook and message me there as well.
Well, again, Debra, thank you for being my friend, and thank you for joining me here today. And until next time, ladies, share this with other amazing women and live vibrantly.
Thank you for joining us on this powerful episode of the You Were Designed for Greatness podcast. Please share this with others who might enjoy it. For more info on Donna Tashjian or to contact her, visit iVibrantLiving.com.